Hey, it is good to be with fellow business people, manufacturers. I only had a chance to visit some family business from Sullivan over here in Herman, and I haven't had a chance to get around the room, but I feel at home. I want to give a little bit about myself and go right into the topics that we want to talk about and hear about today. First of all, I have not served in political office. I'm an outsider. I'm a kind of go-to, can-do, get-it-done kind of a guy. Been in business for many decades. And folks come to me and say, John, you can't be bought. And that's true. I don't need a job. I'm not looking for a job. I purely want to take my years of experience and put it right here in the governor's office to get a job done across Missouri. I know the presentation that we just heard can be a little discouraging, but I always find opportunities in discouraging situations. I spent 18 years in the Marine Corps. I was an infantry platoon commander in the Mediterranean, East Coast and West Coast. It was a tremendous privilege to serve in the Vietnam era. I wasn't sent to Vietnam. They were pulling the guys off the embassy when we were finishing our training. But it was an incredible leadership training for a young guy, and made great friends, including the 29th Commandant of the Marine Corps. 30 years later, joined our board of directors. I've been in manufacturing for 4 decades. A family manufacturing business that my grandfather started back in 1908. We make personal care products, shampoo, mouthwash, nail polish remover, petroleum jelly, hair care products, but all under CVS, Walgreens, Equate name. Our name isn't on it, with the exception of Germex brand, but we also do most of the private label hand sanitizers as well. Now, folks, this was a business here. My dad called and said, John, you need to come back from the Marine Corps. I kept extending my tour. I found a real home there, and it was struggling. It was on its last legs. And in fact, I'll never forget, I was there for less than a week, and there's a knock on the door. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. Well, I know about that help stuff, but it was the Food and Drug Administration wanting to shut down our business. I'm not going to go and spend what I did for the last 30 years, but I've been where you guys are, where you women are. I understand the issues and have fought to save this business. Fortunately, it wasn't a trajectory. We'd always say we never have 2 good years in a row, but we grew it from about 40 associates to 1,400, the largest in our industry. You know, the world changes, as we heard, and business people have to adapt and have to change or you go out of business. Also, as I mentioned, I've served in missions and nonprofit organizations. I've built some churches, orphanages in Africa, Philippines. My good buddy, my best friend, just got back from the Middle East. I have a particular heart about putting my faith and beliefs in action. I was very pleased to receive the endorsement in the U.S. Senate race from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and pro-business as a business person. Now, we got caught from the flanks by Harry Reid and Claire McCaskill in that Senate race, you know, and so you have a choice. When you're knocked down, you stay down or get back up and keep fighting, and that's why I'm here today. I keep on fighting. I want to tell you, I had a chance to meet with Jack Stack yesterday in Springfield, a great manufacturer, a CEO, 1,600 employees, dozens of manufacturing plants. He was approached by President Bush for a cabinet position to help get business back as a priority in America, but he turned the president down. He said, I just don't want politics. This is another boots on the ground kind of a guy. He has his best-selling book he put out, The Game of Business. He's a Mike Porter, the Ed Deming of our time. And just this month here in Forbes magazine, there's an article here, cover story, the best 25 small businesses in America. Half of these businesses that won this award are because they read Jack Stack's book. He does an incredible job in terms of revitalizing efficiency, transparency in business. He also did an interesting issue. He got into Greene County, into government, and took these business practices, and Greene County now received a national award for the transformative process within a county. And I told Jack yesterday, I said, Jack, you didn't work for President Bush, but you're coming to Jefferson City. I got your number, and we're going to go across all the other 113 counties in Missouri. And then Jack told me, he said, John, I'm not investing in anyone for governor who hasn't run a business. Well, that's the kind of guy I like. I agree with him. Folks, I'm not a politician. I'm not even a public speaker. I didn't even take an elevator to work. It was from the parking lot to the plant floor, and I did this for 4 decades here. I'm a go-to, can-do, get-it-done kind of a person, and so instead of a speech, I thought I would address the questions that you all ask through our good leader here. First of all, I want to comment on the Missouri 2030 agenda to lead. This is absolutely amazing. It's right on target. It's well documented. And most important, and I'll have to give this credit to the consultant group, they actually talked to customers, CEOs and business people before they started messing around with the numbers. And that's why it's good. Ted Abernathy and his entire team, I salute you guys for a great job. And for Dan, in terms of leading the way. And I met with Dan. He showed me this book. I read the book. And I said, Dan, all we are missing in this great plan is someone to execute it and to lead. And how many plans do we know that people put it together and it ends up on some back shelf somewhere? So I'm sure there's some improvement in there. I haven't digged down to that level of detail, but it's good to go. One of the slides in the plan, and it's hard to see from here, is percentage of growth in Missouri and neighboring states. And of course, Missouri is in the bottom. We've already heard a lot of negative news already this morning, and I want to move from the problems to the solutions in the remaining few minutes I have. So going through the questions that the Missouri Chamber has suggested may be on your minds, I'm going to run through those very quick. If I have a minute or two left over, we can drill down, or I'll be in the back room. First of all, leading priorities. Well, my leading priorities in terms of supporting job creators is to get an experienced CEO as governor of Missouri. That's number one. Number two, we need to set a vision for Missouri. Missouri needs to be the distribution center of America for agriculture and manufacturing. When my grandfather came here 100 years ago from Virginia, he knew what this could be. And today, 2 million bottles are shipped every single day to 50,000 retailers, 4,500 different SKUs. This is a great distribution hub, but we need the infrastructure to support that. Number three, we need labor reform and right to work. And the good news last night, we passed paycheck protection in the House, and our speaker believes they have a couple extra votes for an override. Number four, regulatory reform. Number five, tort reform. And number six, we need a business CEO as governor, recruiting other business people, CEO to CEO, come to Missouri. Folks, we don't have to have the field of dreams built before we can get business here. Business people like yourselves know that if there's a direction, if there's an advocate, if there's a plan, they'll come in early and ride the upside with us together. Your first 100 days, what would you do? Number one, it all starts with the leadership. And I would hire great, talented leaders in all 16 departments in state government. I've interviewed thousands of people in my life. Everything goes to bringing in good leaders. Number two, a baseline audit for all departments. Financially, where do we stand? Number three, set strategic priorities for each of these key departments. I mean, we need a goal, folks, because if you don't, anywhere will get you there. Four, a personnel audit. And this is basically, do we have the right people on the bus? Five, begin a complete task force on our total infrastructure. And six, review our regulations. Now, this is something we can hit right off the bat. Forbes magazine has listed Utah as number one for business for 5 years in a row. Now, they created 100,000 new jobs in the first 1,000 days. And I had the opportunity to meet a couple times with Governor Gary Herbert. My wife and I also had a chance to have dinner with he and his wife, Jeanette. And we talked about what they did immediately. They reviewed 2,000 regulations in Utah in terms of which were pro-business, anti-business. And they went through those 2,000 regulations and they eliminated or changed 386 right off the bat. Some of these things, he said, have been around for 40 years. It didn't make any sense. Next question. What's the biggest challenge to job growth in Missouri? Well, the quickest and easiest, labor reform, right to work, tort reform, regulatory reform, and a competitive tax rate. As a business person, we understand competition. We have competition among the other states. We have competition worldwide. Let's get our competitive tax rate in place. The next question, what sets me apart from other candidates running for governor? I'm the only candidate that has led a major business. Let me put it well, I didn't lead a major one. I started in and helped turn one around and grew it into a substantial business. I also started 2 other businesses. But I also have deep values. I have deep values as a constitutional conservative, lifetime, deep values in my faith. And I have these broad experiences that I've talked about previously here in terms of my military background and my business background. I'm good to go. I'm ready to get the job done. Another question has to do with the educational system and job readiness in our state. Well, how are we going to solve that? Number one, we need local control and flexibility. That's what the school superintendents are telling us. My grandmother's a teacher, my mother's a teacher, my daughter was a teacher. Flexibility and local control. It works in our business, it works in the Marine Corps, it works in education. Number two, we need to change the metrics. Be careful what you measure. If the metrics are how many high school students are going on to four-year colleges, that's what's going to happen. We have outstanding technical schools, and I've been there. I've seen a school where you're there for a year and a half, you graduate, diesel mechanic, $86,000 a year. Folks, there's some home runs we have there. But number three, we need to promote technical training in our high schools. We have to give these young people a vision that there's another path, another direction where they can do really well for themselves. And four, and this is in our upper education here, we need to appoint leaders, not lawyers, as curators in our higher institutions. Next question. And we're going through here fast because I want to get it done as quickly and as efficiently as I can for all of you folks here. Transportation funding crisis. Well, Missouri voters have spoken. No more taxes, no more tolls, no more fees, okay? You got the money is what they're telling us. And as a manufacturer to my customer base, retailers all over the country, I listen carefully. People said, John, Walmart, what a horrible, tough customer to deal with. Well, I did a good job listening. And over the years, we became Walmart's vendor of the year, Kroger's vendor of the year, Target's vendor of the year by listening to our customers. So, folks, this is where we are. So what are we going to do? Show me the money. First of all, we need old-fashioned entrepreneur efficiency in our state government to find levels of efficiency and eliminate waste. I've done this for decades. You folks do that. You know you can't go out and raise prices. The state cannot go out and raise taxes. It comes down to efficiency and savings in all 16 departments. My target goal, 3.8% savings. 3.8% savings brings $1 billion to the bottom line. It's a good goal. I believe it's achievable. Number two, business growth leads to revenue growth. We grow this state. As my dad and I would talk about years ago, working together, doing the spreadsheets and everything else, he'd say, John, let's go through those swinging doors and get some orders. That's what's going to turn this business around. We need more orders. We need more businesses here in Missouri. But let's have a fixed formula. And I would suggest the 25-75 formula. So when we have increased revenue growth, we know that 25% is going right to our infrastructure, right to our core, so we can soar with our strengths. Number three, we need to evaluate our overall budget priorities in the state of Missouri. Is 7.8% sufficient to make us the distribution center of America, where in one day we can reach 50% of America, in 2 days shipping 90% of America, as well as raw materials coming into us at those same rates? So that's a question. I don't have the answer. We need to understand the scope of the problem before we determine is that the right budget number. In closing, the favorite line for anybody standing up, whether a pastor or a politician, and I hate that term politician. People used to welcome me at dinner and conversations, and when they hear I'm running for governor, it's one of these backing up, oh, nice to see you kind of a thing. So anyway, I envy all of you who have real jobs right now. Business is a big deal. Small business is a big deal. Our future and our growth is from those entrepreneurs. I know it and I understand it. My grandfather with $400 in eighth grade education would never make it today. And all of those jobs that brought billions of dollars of business back to Missouri, they created thousands of jobs that lasted a lifetime. Could never have gone over the hurdles that are in front of entrepreneurs and business people today. I went back and looked at other states and what's going on. I met with Bruce Rauner in Illinois. What a challenge this guy has. On the chart, everything was red. He is fighting, up against a relentless, progressive, liberal, tax, corrupt state. We don't have that way. We have great legislators. We have a great leadership now in both our Senate and our House. Good, dedicated people. All they need is a governor to get and support what they're doing. But we have a good success here with Matt Bevin in Kentucky. Another manufacturer just won. I mentioned Gary Herbert in Utah. Of course, Rick Snyder in Michigan. This is the future for our state. A business person as governor of Missouri. Now, I went back and did some research. When's the last time Missouri had a business leader? Well, we go back 80 years ago to a guy by the name of Lloyd Stark, who had a nursery business. 80 years ago, my friends. And then you go back 100 years ago to a guy named Frederick Gardner. Now, I got to give credit for any Democrats out here. He was a Democrat. But here's what he did. He came in with a $2 million deficit. In 1917, that was a lot of money. A $2 million deficit, served one term, and left with a $3 million surplus. Hey, we can't wait another 100 or 80 years to get a business person. Why do business persons jump in and run for governor? Oh, it's a horrible job. That's why it is. It's a horrible job. You know, you get trashed. Your family gets attacked in campaigns. You got to jump in there and get a job done. And if you don't have the right motivation to go in there and drive and fix a job, because I have 10 grandchildren, 2 more on the way, I got an end of the rainbow for me to get the job done and get home. So, where are we and where are we going? This Missouri 2030 plan is fantastic. And I pledge for you folks, the way this thing is going to be instituted and the way we're going to turn this state around and the way we're going to get these jobs turned around is to elect me as your governor. So in January 2017, this plan is not off some shelf, but we're in there full steam ahead. What it means to you, all of you, because we've been talking big picture here with the consultant here with Ted's did a great job. It's a reset of the American dream.